Sign here, Amelia. Let's end this mistake. Logan Hayes stood in their bedroom, holding divorce papers like a trophy, dressed in a sharp black tuxedo as if he was about to celebrate something. And he was, because standing beside him in a sleek black evening gown that hugged every curve, his mistress, Vanessa Sterling, smiled like she'd already won. But what neither of them saw was the woman hiding behind the cream-colored furniture, Amelia Chen, 4 months pregnant, her hand pressed desperately over her mouth to silence the sob threatening to escape, her whole body trembling as she watched the man she'd loved for 3 years prepare to destroy her in the same room where he'd once promised her forever. She'd come home early from the doctor's appointment, ultrasound photo clutched in her hand, showing their baby girl's heartbeat, ready to surprise him with the news that would change everything. Instead, she'd heard voices in their bedroom and hidden instinctively. And now she was trapped, forced to witness her own annihilation. "I still can't believe you're actually doing this," Vanessa purred, adjusting Logan's bow tie with the casual intimacy of someone who'd done it 1,000 times. "Does she know you're taking me to the Harrington Gala tonight, that everyone will see us together?" Behind the furniture, Amelia's heart shattered. The Harrington Gala. The event she'd helped him prepare for, the connections she'd built for him, the night that was supposed to launch his company into the elite circles. He was taking his mistress. In her place, in their bedroom, the bed where they had made love, where they'd whispered dreams, where he'd traced her face and called her my everything. Logan laughed, cold and sharp. "Amelia? Please. She's so boring and poor. She probably thinks the gala is some kind of charity event she'd volunteer at. She has no idea what real wealth and class look like." "Unlike me," Vanessa said, and Amelia could hear the smug smile in her voice. "God, I can't wait to see their faces when you walk in with me instead of that plain little nobody you married. What were you thinking?" What Logan said next made Amelia's hand move protectively to her belly, tears streaming silently down her face. "I was thinking her father might have money. Turns out Richard Chen is just some mid-level property manager. I thought Chen meant old money. I got a non-profit worker who makes $40K a year. Biggest waste of 3 years of my life." Behind the furniture, Amelia bit down on her fist to keep from screaming. Her father, Richard Chen, wasn't a property manager. He was the Richard Chen, trillionaire real estate mogul who owned half the city's skyline, but he'd made her promise 3 years ago, right before she'd met Logan at that coffee shop. "If a man loves you, he'll love you poor. Don't tell him who you are until you're sure." And she'd listened. God help her, she'd listened, because she'd wanted real love, not someone who loved her last name. She'd hidden her wealth, lived modestly, worked at the nonprofit, driven a used Honda, all to find someone who'd love her, and instead, she'd found this. "So what's the plan?" Vanessa asked, running her finger down the divorce papers like she was caressing something precious. "She signs these, and then what?" "I move in." "You're already basically living here," Logan said, and Amelia realized with horror that it was true. Vanessa's perfume in the bathroom, her wine glasses in the kitchen, her shoes by the door that Amelia had thought belonged to Logan's sister. "She's so naive. She thinks you're just my work wife. But yes, she signs. I keep the penthouse, the cars, the company, everything. Her name's on nothing important. My lawyer made sure of that." Amelia's tears stopped, because that's where Logan was wrong. Her name wasn't on anything, because her father's name was on everything. The penthouse Logan thought he owned, Chen Industries property, leased to L. Hayes at Amelia's request, the Tesla in the garage and the Range Rover he drove to impress clients, Chen Industries fleet. The tech startup Logan was so proud of, the one he bragged about building from nothing. Funded entirely by a silent investor called Evergreen Capital, her father's shell company. Every success, every deal, every dollar Logan thought he'd earned through his own brilliance, it was all built on Amelia's invisible fortune, designed to disappear the moment she said the word. "What about the brat?" Vanessa's voice dripped with disgust, and Amelia's hand tightened protectively over her belly. "If she's pregnant like you think—" "I told her to handle it," Logan said flatly, and Amelia's vision blurred with fresh tears. "I'm not raising some kid with her. If she won't, that's another reason for divorce. I want a clean break." "Good," Vanessa said, and Amelia could hear her moving closer to Logan, could imagine her pressing against him. "Because I'm not playing stepmother to some nobody's baby. When we get married, I want our own children, not hers. When we get married." The words hit Amelia like a physical blow. They'd already planned that far ahead. While she'd been at home making his favorite meals, supporting his dreams, building his connections through her father's network without Logan ever knowing, they'd been planning her replacement. That's when something inside Amelia broke and reformed into something colder, harder, sharper than grief. Her phone was in her pocket. Her father's attorney was one text away. And the two people standing in her bedroom, mocking her pregnancy, mocking her love, planning to steal what they thought was his but was always hers. They had no idea what was about to hit them. She pulled out her phone with trembling fingers, the ultrasound photo falling silently to the carpet. She typed, "Freeze everything. He owns nothing. I'm ready." The response came in seconds. Done. All assets frozen. Lease. Termination notice sent. Vehicle repossession authorized. Bank accounts locked. Mr. Hayes has zero access as of this moment. Security team en route. Say the word and we execute full protocol. Amelia stared at the screen, at the words that would end Logan's world. Her thumb hovered over the reply button. Part of her, the part that still remembered his smile on their wedding day, the part that still felt his hand on her belly 2 months ago when she'd told him about the pregnancy before he'd turned cold. That part wanted to stay hidden, to run, to pretend she'd never heard any of this. But then Vanessa laughed again, that cruel, victorious sound, and said something that made Amelia's decision final. "You know what the best part is? She's so pathetic, she'll probably beg you not to leave. She'll cry and promise to be better, like it's her fault you got bored of poor and ordinary." "She already has," Logan said, and Amelia's heart stopped. "Last week when I stayed out all night, she asked what she'd done wrong. She actually apologized to me. Can you believe that?" Amelia could believe it, because she remembered that morning. She'd made him breakfast, asked gently if everything was okay, told him she was there if he needed to talk. And he'd looked at her with such contempt, such barely disguised irritation, before kissing her forehead and saying, "Everything's fine, babe, just work stress." She typed one word, "Execute." Then Amelia Chen stood slowly, her white clothes wrinkled from crouching, her face streaked with tears and mascara, her hand pressed protectively over the daughter they'd just called some brat and nobody's baby. She stepped out from behind the cream furniture, and the movement caught Logan's eye mid-sentence. He turned. His face went from confident to confused to absolutely white in the span of 2 seconds. The divorce papers slipped from his fingers, floating to the floor like dead leaves. Vanessa's hand fell away from his bow tie. Her mouth opened in a perfect O of shock. And Amelia spoke through her tears, her voice breaking, but her words sharp as shattered glass and twice as cutting. "Everything you own was always mine." The silence that followed Amelia's words was so complete, so absolute, that she could hear her own heartbeat thundering in her ears. Logan's face cycled through expressions so quickly, it would have been funny if it wasn't destroying her. Confusion, disbelief, then something that looked almost like amusement, as if he thought she was having some kind of breakdown. "Amelia," he said slowly, like he was talking to a child, and she hated how familiar that condescending tone had become over the past few months. "What are you talking about, and what are you doing here? I thought you were at work." "I was at the doctor," Amelia said, her voice still trembling but growing steadier with each word. She kept her hand on her belly, drawing strength from the tiny life growing inside her. "Getting an ultrasound of our daughter, the baby you told me to handle." Vanessa let out a nervous laugh, but it died quickly when she saw Amelia's face. "Oh God, Logan, she was here the whole time? She heard—" "Everything," Amelia finished. "I heard everything. How I'm boring and poor, how my father is just a mid-level property manager, how you're taking her," her voice cracked, "to the Harrington Gala tonight, the gala I spent 6 months organizing connections for, the gala that was supposed to be our night." Logan's jaw tightened. For a moment, just a flash, Amelia saw something that might have been guilt cross his face, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared, replaced by irritation. "You were hiding? That's insane, Amelia. That's actually psychotic behavior." "I was going to surprise you," Amelia said, and she hated how her voice broke on the word. "With this." She bent down and picked up the ultrasound photo from where it had fallen, holding it up with shaking hands. In the black and white image, their daughter's profile was clearly visible. Tiny nose, little hand near her face. "I was going to tell you we're having a girl. I had dinner reservations. I had a gift. I had her name picked out." She watched Logan's eyes flick to the ultrasound photo, and for just a second, she thought she saw something human there. But then Vanessa spoke, her voice sharp with impatience. "This is very dramatic, but Logan and I have a gala to get to. Whatever marital issues you two have, maybe you can discuss them later, like adults? Amelia laughed then, and it was a broken, bitter sound that didn't sound like her at all. Adults? You want to talk about adults? Tell me, Vanessa, how adult is it to sleep with another woman's husband, in her bed, in her home? His home, Vanessa corrected coldly, gesturing around the bedroom. His penthouse, his money. You're just the wife. That's what I'm trying to tell you, Amelia said, and now her tears were drying, replaced by something colder. That's what you don't understand. This isn't his penthouse. Logan's expression shifted from irritation to concern. Amelia, what are you— Let me guess, Amelia interrupted, looking directly at him. Your lawyer told you everything's in your name. The lease, the cars, the company. He made sure my name wasn't on anything important, right? Right, Logan said warily, because I built all of this. My company, my success, Your company that was funded by Evergreen Capital, Amelia said quietly. Your silent investor who gave you $5 million in seed funding 3 years ago. Do you even know who owns Evergreen Capital, Logan? She watched the color drain from his face, watched his mouth open and close, watched him trying to do the math, trying to figure out where she was going with this. My father, Amelia said simply. Richard Chen, not a mid-level property manager. The Richard Chen, the one who owns Chen Industries, the one whose buildings you can see from this penthouse window, because he owns the penthouse too. This entire building, actually. All 47 floors. Vanessa laughed, but it sounded uncertain now. That's ridiculous. If your father was Richard Chen, you wouldn't be working at some nonprofit for $40,000 a year, Amelia finished. I know. That's what Logan thought too. That's what I wanted him to think. Because my father made me promise— Her voice broke again. He made me promise that if I was going to date, I wouldn't tell anyone who I really was. He wanted me to find someone who loved me, for me. Not for my last name, not for my money. Just me. She looked at Logan, and fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. And I thought I had. I thought you loved me. Even when you started working late, even when you started criticizing everything I did, even when you stopped touching me unless you wanted something. I thought maybe it was stress. I thought maybe if I was better, more supportive, more understanding— Stop, Logan said, and his voice had changed. It wasn't condescending anymore. It was sharp, worried. Stop talking, Amelia. Why? Amelia asked. Because you're starting to understand? Let me make it crystal clear for you. The penthouse you think you own, leased from Chen Industries to L. Hayes at my request. The Tesla in the garage, Chen Industries' fleet vehicle. The Range Rover you love so much? Same. Your precious tech startup, built entirely on my father's money, funneled through shell companies so you'd never know. She pulled out her phone, and Logan's eyes widened when he saw the screen. That text I just sent? That was to my father's attorney. As of 3 minutes ago, everything is frozen. The lease on this penthouse? Terminated. The cars? Being repossessed as we speak. Your company bank accounts? Locked. Because here's what you didn't know, Logan. Here's what your lawyer didn't tell you because he didn't know to ask. You don't own anything. You never did. It was all mine. Every single dollar you thought you earned, every success you thought you built, every door that opened for you, it was me. It was my father's money and my father's connections and my family's name that you were so desperate to escape from. You're lying, Vanessa said, but her voice was shaking now. You're making this up because you're hurt. Am I? Amelia asked. She tapped her phone screen and turned it toward them. On it was an email from Chen Industries' legal department, timestamped 2 minutes ago. Read it yourself. Every asset, every account, frozen pending divorce proceedings and fraud investigation. Logan snatched the phone from her hand, his eyes scanning the screen frantically. Amelia watched his face go from white to gray to almost green. His hand started shaking. This can't be real, he whispered. This is a joke, some kind of— His own phone buzzed. Then again. Then it started ringing. He pulled it out with trembling fingers, and Amelia could see notification after notification flooding his screen. His bank app, his company account, his lawyers, the building management. Oh, God, he breathed. Oh, God, what did you do? What did I do? Amelia repeated, and her voice was ice now. I stopped letting you steal from me. I stopped letting you use me. I stopped being the boring, poor little nobody who was too stupid to see what you really were. Vanessa grabbed Logan's arm. This is insane. She can't just— You have rights. You built that company. You have equity. He has nothing, Amelia said flatly, because he built nothing. Every investor he thought he'd impressed? My father's contacts, every deal he closed, arranged through Chen Industries networks, every success he celebrated with you. She looked directly at Vanessa. While I was at home making dinner and pretending not to notice his lies, paid for with my family's money. Logan's phone rang again. This time he answered it, his voice hoarse. Hello? Amelia couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, but she watched Logan's face crumble as he listened. No, I understand. Yes, Wait, please, there must be. He pulled the phone away from his ear, staring at it in disbelief. They hung up. The bank. They said all my accounts are frozen pending investigation into fraud, and he looked at Amelia with something close to panic. Misappropriation of Chen Industries funds. Because that's what it was, Amelia said quietly. You took money that was always meant to be mine, and you used it to build a life with someone else, in my home, in my bed, while I was pregnant with your child. Vanessa was scrolling frantically on her own phone now, her perfectly made-up face going pale. Logan, it's true. Chen Industries just released a statement. Richard Chen's daughter, she looked up at Amelia with dawning horror. It says you've been living under an assumed financial status as part of a personal family agreement. It says any business dealings involving your name or your spouse's name will be reviewed for, oh my God, for fraud, Amelia finished, because Logan told investors that he had family money backing him. He told them the Chen connection was his ace in the hole. He just thought it meant something different than it actually did. Logan stumbled backward until he hit the bed, their bed, and sat down hard. The divorce papers were still scattered on the floor at his feet. Amelia, please. Please, you can't do this. The company, the investors, the gala tonight, I'm supposed to announce our Series B funding. I have people flying in from Singapore. You have nothing, Amelia said, and this time her voice didn't shake at all. Just like I would have had nothing if I'd signed those papers, just like you wanted, just like you planned. She walked toward him slowly, deliberately, until she was standing right in front of where he sat. She looked down at him. This man she'd loved, this man she'd trusted, this man who'd just called their daughter a brat and told his mistress he wanted a clean break. I would have given you everything, she said softly, and now the tears came again, hot and bitter. If you had loved me, really loved me, I would have told you the truth. I would have shared everything. My family's connections, my trust fund, all of it. But you were too busy trying to steal it to realize I would have just given it to you freely. Logan looked up at her, and for the first time since she'd stepped out from behind the furniture, she saw a real emotion on his face. Not calculation, not manipulation, just pure, devastating fear. Amelia, I made a mistake, a terrible mistake. But please, you can't destroy everything I've built. Please, I'm begging you. Everything you've built? Amelia repeated. She laughed, and it was hollow. You still don't get it. You didn't build anything, Logan. I did, and now I'm taking it back. She turned to Vanessa, who was standing frozen by the dresser, still in her beautiful black gown, still holding the evening clutch she'd brought for the gala she'd never attend. You wanted to know what it feels like to be with a successful man, to have wealth and status and class? Well, congratulations. You got exactly what you wanted. Him, all of him, and nothing else. Vanessa's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Her phone buzzed, and she looked down at it automatically. Then her face went absolutely white. Logan, she whispered. Logan, I just got fired. The company email. It says effective immediately. All personnel associated with L. Hayes are terminated pending investigation, Amelia finished. Yes, because you were paid with my family's money too, Vanessa. Every paycheck, every bonus, every expensive lunch you charged to the company card, all mine. The bedroom door opened suddenly, and both Logan and Vanessa jumped. Two men in dark suits entered. Building security, Amelia realized, but also something more, something official. One of them held up a badge. Mr. Hayes, I'm Agent Morrison with the Fraud Division. We need you to come with us to answer some questions about your business practices and your representations to investors. Miss Sterling, you as well. Logan stood up so fast he swayed. Wait, this is a misunderstanding. My wife, she's upset. She's pregnant. She's not thinking clearly. Your wife, Agent Morrison said, consulting a tablet, is Amelia Chen, daughter of Richard Chen, whose legal team filed a formal complaint 3 minutes ago alleging fraud, identity theft, and misappropriation of funds. These are serious charges, Mr. Hayes. I didn't know, Logan shouted. How could I commit fraud when I didn't even know she had money? This is entrapment. This is you finding out what happens when you try to steal from a trillionaire's daughter, Amelia said quietly. She looked at the agents. He can take whatever he came in with, the clothes on his back. That's it. Everything else, the watch, the cufflinks, the phone, all purchased with Chen Industries funds. Logan looked down at his Rolex, his face crumbling. Amelia, please, don't do this. Think about our baby. I am thinking about our baby, Amelia interrupted, and her hand moved protectively to her belly again. I'm thinking about how you called her a brat, how you told me to handle it, how you told your mistress you wanted a clean break. I'm thinking about how my daughter deserves a father who actually wants her, and that's not you. She walked to the nightstand and picked up the divorce papers Logan had brought. She read through them quickly. They were exactly what he'd described. Everything in his name. She got nothing. He kept everything. A clean break. I'll sign them, she said. Logan's eyes lit up with desperate hope. Yes, okay. We can work this out. I'll sign them, Amelia repeated, but not your version. My father's lawyers will draw up new papers, fair ones, where you get exactly what you brought into this marriage, nothing, and I keep what was always mine. You'll have no claim to anything, no alimony, no child support, no rights. You can't take away my rights as a father, Logan protested. You gave those away yourself, Amelia said coldly. When you told another woman you didn't want to raise some kid with me, when you told me to handle it. Those words came from your mouth, Logan, not mine. She turned to the agents. He's all yours. As they escorted Logan and Vanessa out, Logan twisted back, his face desperate. Amelia, please, I love you. I've always loved you. It was just cold feet. Wedding jitters that lasted too long. We can fix this. Amelia stood in the bedroom, her bedroom, in her penthouse, surrounded by her things, and watched the man she'd loved being led away by federal agents. She should have felt triumphant. She should have felt powerful. Instead, she just felt hollow. She sank down onto the bed and finally let herself fall apart. Her phone buzzed with a call. Dad, she answered with shaking hands. Amelia? Her father's voice was warm and worried. The lawyers called. Are you okay? Are you safe? I'm safe, she whispered. But Dad, I'm not okay. I'm really not okay. I know, sweetheart, I know. I'm sending a car. Come home. Come back to the family house. You shouldn't be alone right now. Amelia looked around the beautiful bedroom that had never really belonged to Logan at all, at the life she'd built on a foundation of lies. His lies, yes, but also her own. She'd hidden who she was, and in doing so, she'd attracted exactly the kind of man who would destroy her for it. I'll be ready in 10 minutes, she said. Amelia, her father said gently, I'm proud of you, for protecting yourself, for protecting my granddaughter. Thanks, Dad, Amelia whispered. She hung up and placed her hand on her belly. It's just you and me now, baby girl, just us. And I promise I will never let anyone make you feel like you're worth less than you are. I promise I'll teach you that love shouldn't cost you everything. And I promise, her voice broke, I promise that even though your father didn't want you, I will want you enough for both of us. She stood, wiped her tears, and started packing. 2 hours later, Amelia sat in her childhood bedroom at the Chen family estate, her phone exploding with notifications. The Harrington Gala was happening right now, without Logan. His company's statement had just gone live. Hayes Tech CEO Logan Hayes is under investigation for fraud and misrepresentation of funding sources. All operations suspended. Then, someone posted a photo from inside the gala. On the screen, meant for Logan's triumph, was a different message. Hayes Tech was funded entirely by Chen Industries. All claims of independent success were fraudulent. Below it, Chen Industries protects its own. Amelia Chen, we stand with you. Her phone rang. Vanessa. She almost didn't answer. Amelia, please, Vanessa sobbed. Logan's arrested. I'm evicted. Everything's frozen. I don't have anywhere to go. You wanted Logan, Amelia said coldly. You have him, the version with nothing. Congratulations. She hung up. Her father entered, his expression soft. How are you feeling? Heartbroken, Amelia admitted, but relieved. Another call. Logan, from jail. Against her better judgment, she answered. Why? His voice was broken. If you had money, why hide it? Because I wanted you to love me, Amelia said simply. Not my money, just me. Please, drop the charges. I'll change. I'll be a good father. No, Amelia's voice was steel. You destroyed yourself when you called our daughter a brat, when you told me to handle it. Goodbye, Logan. She blocked his number. Her father squeezed her shoulder. Proud of you. Amelia placed her hand on her belly. I'm going to tell her about this someday, how I loved her father, how he broke my heart. And then, how I stood up. How I chose us over him. Fresh tears came, but fiercer ones. I'll teach her that if someone can't love you for real, they don't deserve you, no matter how much you love them. After her father left, Amelia whispered to her daughter, "Your father called you nobody's baby, but you're mine. You're a Chen. And that means you're strong, loved, and worth more than any man who can't see your value." Her phone buzzed one final time, a text from her father's attorney. "Penthouse cleared, all personal items removed. Building is yours whenever you're ready." Amelia looked out at the city skyline, half of it owned by her family. Somewhere out there, Logan was realizing that everything he'd touched, everything he'd built, everything he'd celebrated, had always belonged to her. She smiled through her tears. It wasn't the ending she'd wanted, but it was the ending she deserved. Before you go, I'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from right now? Drop your city and the time in the comments below. And if you want more powerful stories like this, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss when someone gets the revenge they truly deserve. Until next time, remember, never underestimate the quiet ones. They might just own everything you think is yours.